Hi, my name is Rhyan Klima. Today is May 15th of 2022, and today we're going to be talking about the cardiovascular system, particularly the pathway through the heart. All right, so today we are going to talk about the passage of blood through the heart and kind of what pathway that takes. Before we get started, there's a couple things that we need to cover our bases on. So here's our big heart and our small heart. The reason why I draw my small heart down here is to kind of show the atrium and the ventricles. So just a reminder, when we're looking at the heart spot on, it's kind of a reversal of what we consider the right and the left because it's, again, flipped when it's in our chest. So your right is going to be on your left side and your left is going to be on your right side. So we have the atria on the top, which is your right atrium, left atrium, and then the right ventricle, left ventricle. And how I easily remember that is, if you can imagine, this is the circle of a lowercase a. That stands for your atria, so that's on top, and these kind of look like V's. So that's for your ventricles, and that's on the bottom. So the reason why I kind of drew that small heart here is here you can see your ventricles pretty easily, and you can see your right atrium pretty easily, but your left atrium is kind of hidden behind all this good stuff here. So it's just kind of a visualization of where the atria and the ventricles actually are. So the other thing we're going to want to cover is our valves. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and I labeled those valves in the order of which the blood will pass through them. So your first and your third are valves in between the atria and the ventricles, and that is your tricuspid, tri meaning 3, meaning it has 3 flaps, and your bicuspid, 2 meaning bi, and meaning that has 2 flaps. The bicuspid is also can be referred to as the mitral valve. And then your 2 valves in the center, your 2 and your 4. Your 2 is your pulmonary valve because it is going into a pulmonary artery, pulmonary referring to lungs, and then 4, your aortic valve, because it is going into the aorta. So that kind of makes sense there. We have our lungs on either side to kind of make reference of the blood passing from the pulmonary arteries into the lungs and coming back through the pulmonary veins. And then kind of just a quick note about arteries and veins. So we associate arteries as going away from the heart and veins going towards the heart. The other thing is we usually associate arteries carrying oxygenated blood, and we usually associate veins carrying deoxygenated blood. Now, I said mostly in both of those just because the exception is your pulmonary arteries and your pulmonary veins. So here, the pulmonary artery is going away from the heart, but it is actually carrying deoxygenated blood yet because it hasn't gone to the lungs to pick up the oxygen yet. And then this pulmonary veins here is actually bringing back oxygenated blood, so that's where it's just a little bit different. That's your only exception. Other than that, it's going to be mostly deoxygenated with veins and oxygenated with arteries. So when we have our blood, we come from either our inferior vena cava or superior vena cava. We're coming into the right atrium. We pass through our tricuspid into this right ventricle. We're going through our pulmonary valve, again pulmonary because this is the pulmonary artery, and then the pulmonary artery goes both directions, this being our right in the heart and this being our left in the heart to go to our lungs. In the lungs, it picks up our oxygen, and then the oxygenated blood comes back both sides through our pulmonary veins and ends up in our left atrium. From there, the blood is pumped down through our bicuspid or mitral valve into our left ventricle, and then another large pump pushes the blood up into our aorta where it goes all over the body. Now, once we're in the body, it's distributing through your arteries, and then your smaller version of your arteries are your arterioles, and then your cross-section in between is your capillaries, between your venules and your arterioles. So this cross section is the capillaries, where you have the exchange and leaving of oxygen to the necessary organs in the body, and then the deoxygenated blood goes back into your venules, which is just a smaller vessel version of the vein, and then the vein brings it back to the circulatory network that takes it back to the heart. So again, arteries bring the oxygenated blood, veins taking deoxygenated blood back, arterioles are just small versions of arteries, venules are just small versions of veins. In the middle is where you have that exchange and drop off of oxygen, and the cross section being the capillaries. Okay? So that's going over our heart today, and thank you for being with me. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.